Hey, it's Dr. Emil Tompkins, and I want to thank you for joining us on this episode of the Beyond Pain Relief podcast. And we're going to talk about what sugar does to your brain. I thank you for joining me. I ran by this great article from Dr. Axe, a functional health practitioner who does lots and lots of research, compiles that research together, and puts together just some really good information on how to be healthy in a natural way. And today we're going to talk about sugar because there's so many reasons why we need to consider eliminating sugar from our diet, at least the bad sugar. And most of the reasons we think about are the fact that it's going to have an effect on our weight. But today we're going to talk about what sugar does to the brain. Sugar has many names: dextrose, fructose, lactose, maltose, glucose. A sugar by any other name is still sugar. In fact, there are more than 50 different names for it. But is sugar really bad for you? Guys, essentially there are two different types of sugar. There's good sugar that occurs naturally in fruits and vegetables, and bad added sugar that's added to sweetened sodas, candy, baked goods, and so on. That good sugar is actually needed within the body, particularly within the brain. Following a meal, that food is broken down, specifically glycogen, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and triglycerides. They are broken down into glucose. So glucose is crucial. It's crucial for cell function, so much so that glucose deprivation can lead to a loss of consciousness and eventual cell death. Therefore, after a meal, your body has a system in place so that any extra sugar gets stored as a reserve. All cells need this energy to function. A large mass of neuron cells that make up the brain needs energy, largely in the form of glucose, to function. Did you know that the brain uses approximately 20% of an individual's daily energy intake? Your brain needs lots of sugar. Not only is sugar essential for your basic brain functions, but it tastes darn good too. When you eat something with sugar in it, your taste receptors are going to activate, and that sends signals to your brain that set off an entire cascade of stimulation. In particular, the dopaminergic pathway is activated and triggers your that's tasty signal. This pathway starts in a cluster of cells at the base of your brainstem called the ventral trigeminal area and extends through the lateral hypothalamus to the nucleus accumbens in the forebrain. Behaviors that stimulate and release the neurotransmitter dopamine, which is part of the reward cascade, this is important, within this pathway, they've shown to be highly motivational. So when you stimulate this pathway, it motivates you to want more. Glucose is crucial to cell function and survival. And so it stimulates this reward pathway in your brain, which makes everything feel like unicorns and rainbows. Life is good, except too much of something usually turns out to be the opposite of good. So let's talk about it. How much sugar should you ingest per day? So the American Heart Association suggests that individuals should ingest a maximum daily intake of 6 teaspoons of sugar. That's added sugar to things for women, and 9 teaspoons for men. But on average, people take in roughly 22 teaspoons of added sugar, which is on top of the naturally occurring sugar in our diet. 22 teaspoons. We've got to do something about that. So as our reward pathway keeps getting stimulated, the dopamine receptors become desensitized. So then they require more dopamine to get the same pleasant feeling. So we have too much sugar. It makes those receptors desensitized. If they're desensitized, you want more. That is why sugar can be addictive. Therefore, we need more consumption of, in this case, the sugary food or beverage to elicit the same response. This increase in consumption has been shown to result in obesity, including childhood obesity. An increase in diet of saturated fats and sugar together can create fundamental changes in the brain that, in conjunction with that increased dopamine release, can really start to have huge effects on our brain. So we'll talk about some of those. Memory and learning is one. There are studies show that a diet high in sugar and saturated fats together can promote oxidative stress, and that leads to cell damage. In 2010, Scott Konoski, an associate professor of biological sciences at Purdue University, demonstrated that a 3-day diet of increased sugar and saturated fats resulted in impaired hippocampal function. Now, guys, the hippocampus is responsible for learning and memories. So this caused the rats in this maze to have difficulty finding food within that maze. There are other studies that also illustrate that the hippocampus in particular is susceptible or sensitive to a high energy diet. Let's talk about addiction. Sugar addiction is real. The pathway activated for addiction is the same as that reward pathway. Persistent increases in the release of dopamine lead to the desensitization and requires more consumption for that reward. It even changes gene expression. It doesn't change your genes, but it will change what genes are expressed. So, incredibly important. Sugar is going to change how your body manifests its health through genetics. Depression and anxiety, attempts in trying to break that addictive cycle can lead to mood swings and irritability. Eliminating all additive sugar in your diet can lead, for some people, the same symptoms as drug withdrawal. Sugar withdrawal symptoms include things like headaches, anxiety, craving, and even chills. Crazy. Cognitive deficits. Prolonged diets with high sugar can lead to changes in gene expression that affects everything from neurotransmitters to receptors and the basic function of the cell. In particular, studies suggest the brain-derived neurotropic factor is impacted. This is active in the hippocampus, cortex, and forebrain and is vital to learning and memory, as well as supporting existing neurons while promoting the formation of new synapses. This is reduced in high sugar diets. Therefore, guys, it's not surprising this correlation in those BDNF levels, brain-derived neurotropic factor, and Alzheimer's, depression, dementia have been discovered. New research and neuroscience is uncovering more effects of excessive sugar on the brain. Either way, I don't think we need any more information. We know what to do. So that's our tip for today. Try to stay away from sugar. It does a lot of damage, and I want you to be healthy. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.